Welcome to Xonboard. This is going to be a whirlwind tour of how to get set up with your first organization, how to invite an employee to onboard, and how to invite other advisors or the employer themselves so they can manage the employee onboarding process. It all starts at xonboard.com.au. Here you'll see plenty of information about Xonboard, and you'll see an overview of what we're going to take you through today, and that's how to set up a new organization. You will connect to Xero, you'll set up your organization, you'll select a default super fund, you can then invite your first employee to complete the onboarding process, and then you can invite the rest of your team so that they can manage the onboarding process, or you can invite the employer themselves. You will start by signing up. I've already got an account, so I'm going to click login. That will take you to here where you will connect your first organization. It'll actually look like this, and then you'll click add organization and connect to Xero. This will then ask you for your login, your username and password for Xero. I've recently logged in, so it's taken me straight to the authorization page where you can select one or more organizations you want to add to Xonboard. I only have one in this account, which is the demo company, and so it's only giving me that option, but you could select multiple. The demo company is a great option if you just want to test out Xonboard and you don't want to mess up a client's file, but you always get the option at the end of an onboarding to send it to Xero or to cancel it. So you can invite an employee to an organization and nothing will be sent to Xero until you choose it to be. So I'm going to authorize the demo company. If you select multiple organizations, you'll then get a list here, and you can choose which ones you want to create in Xonboard. So I'm going to create the demo company in Xonboard, and then we need to add or confirm the details of that employer. So these will all be pulled back from Xero. I'm just going to update that ABN for a purpose you'll see in a second. Otherwise, all of these details should be complete except for the email address and a contact person. Now, this email address and contact person is what we will send to the ATO when we perform a tax file number declaration or a super stapling request. So you can decide if you want that to be the employer's details or you want that to be someone at your accounting or bookkeeping firm to handle any requests that come from them. It's a very rare occurrence that they'll ever contact you, though. So I click save on that. That step is done. Now we go into the settings for that employer around their employee onboarding. So this is where we set the employer's default fund. I'll say I know my employer default fund, and I'm going to select active super, and I'm not going to enter an employer number. And then that's the only thing you need to set, but you can also set up tax file number declarations if you desire to. And you can set up super stapling. And in order to activate super stapling and the tax file number declarations, you do need to go to ATO Access Manager and complete these instructions, which will set us up as an intermediary so that we can submit these requests on your behalf. Once you've gone through that process, you come back here and hit check stapling activation, and that will then say enabled if we have been able to test that that connection is active and working. And that is why I switched the ABN just before, because I have an ABN that I've already completed that process for. Now I click return and I am done with the setup process. Now I can start inviting employees to start onboarding. So I click invite user to onboard. I then enter the email address of a user or an employee I want to onboard. Phone number is optional. I select employee. I send the invite. That has now gone out via email. I can see that the invite is out there. And when it gets accepted, it will disappear from there. Now, you can also find your existing employees from within the Xero organization, and you can re-invite them to onboard. So this might be great if you have just taken on a new client and you don't know the state of their employee details in payroll, and you'd rather just onboard everyone again to make sure all their details are up to date. So if I find the name of an existing employee in here, so I've got James LeBron, you do need to enter both the first and last name at the moment. We will be making improvements to this feature, but that's what it does at the moment. You can then select them. Looks like they don't have an email address. I need to add that, and then I want to invite them as an employee, and then I can send that invite, and that will send them an invite, and when they come through, complete their onboarding, and you receive all those details, when you send it to Xero, rather than create a new employee in Xero, it will update the details of the employee you just selected from Xero, because they already exist there. Now, that's great for inviting your employees, but you may also want to invite the employer themselves or other members of your accounting or bookkeeping firm so that they can manage the employee onboarding process. If you want to do that, you simply enter an email address for that user, and you can select the employer or the advisor role. In both cases, they will get access to Xonboard. They'll be able to see all the employees in this organization only, so this would be only in the demo company. They will also then be able to invite employees or other employers or other advisors to access that organization. So if you have 10 organizations, 10 different clients, you'll need to invite the employer to each one of those, or to one of, the one that they want to manage, and your advisory staff, your other bookkeepers, etc. You'd have to invite them to each of those organizations. That's how we're managing permissions at the moment. We realize you probably want to have some more power features around that. They will be coming in the future. But what if you just want to experience what the employee onboarding is like, and you don't want to go through the whole inviting yourself process Well, that's exactly what we've set up here. So if you come to this invite screen and you want to just get a demo of what's it like to onboard as an employee for this organization, click this button. This will kick off an employee onboarding session for you. And it's a real employee onboarding session. So you can use this to actually enter all your details, and you will receive the confirmation at the end with all your details. And if you chose to, you could send that into Xero. If you don't want to put your employee details into Xero, you can simply cancel it at that point and it won't go any further. So the first step of the employee onboarding is to enter your phone number in order to verify it. So I've chosen to receive an SMS. You can also do a phone number, receive a phone call in order to verify that. Now I'm going to enter my personal details. Then we do contact details. Then we do emergency contact details. Then we do a tax file number declaration. I'm not going to put my tax file in just for these purposes. And then they select all these sort of things. So we have helpful messages. For instance, with a foreign resident, pretty much no one's actually a foreign resident for tax purposes. And we've learned that the hard way. And that's why we have all these warnings. And it also won't let you select the tax-free threshold. So these are all, and it's the same for working holiday maker. But in both cases, it will ask for the country of origin. These are all the sort of things that we try to ensure that people can't make mistakes, honest mistakes, but mistakes nonetheless, that just result in you needing to fix them afterwards. So our intention is always to make those sort of things automatic. I then sign that. Now I'm entering bank accounts. You can enter multiple bank accounts, and if you do, they will all go to Xero. You can enter up to 4. But only one can be a percentage-based bank account, and that aligns with the rules of Xero. So this could be, for instance, my home loan account, and then all the rest will go into that. So just a good way you can collect multiple bank accounts. And this is the super choice. So we've got, you can use your existing fund, you can join a new fund, you can use the employer's default fund, which is the super fund I selected at the start of this process, or I can use an SMSF. This isn't going to work because I didn't enter my tax file number, but we use super stapling to proactively look up existing employees' super funds. We see about 80% of employees use this feature. And this, by clicking this button, it will send off a stapling request for that employer, and those details will then be put on screen for the employee to decide if that's the super fund they want to select. They can do it in one click, and all of those details, the USI and the member number, are then valid at that point because we receive them from the ATO. If you're new to workforce, they can choose a fund, or they can choose from a list and see a whole bunch of different funds. Some of these are partners, some of these are not. We don't limit the choices that an employee can make. If I want to go and find my existing fund, the same thing applies. So I can select from all of these. I then go through a short, well, this is basically capturing all the details that go onto the super choice. This is that super choice, and then the process is complete. I have made my selection for Australian Super, and I continue. As the employee, that would then finish, but because I'm actually an employer and I'm just doing this as a demo, it's now taking me to the employer side where I will review the details the employee has provided me, and then I can send them off to Xero. So this is what you would do if an employee completed their onboarding. You'd receive an email notification. It would say, Riley James has just completed their onboarding. Now it's time to finalize it. You'll land here. You'll see all the employees that are onboarding. You'll see that this one is complete, and you can then finalize it. So this is where you select the SCP fields that we then send off to Xero. And you can choose which of the Fair Work statements you want to send to that employee. So I'll send that one. I can also have a look at some of the details that might be relevant for how you select these fields. If I click Save and Continue, then I get a final review of all the details that they have provided me. And I can download a copy of that if I need it. Otherwise, I can send it off to Xero. It's updating Xero's payroll with all of those details, and that's done. Now, if I go off to Xero, reload my employees, I can see that Riley James has been created. And I can see all of these details here. One thing that can't be sent over is the emergency contact details. That is a limitation of the Xero API. There's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. We have reached out, we have told them that it's not functioning, but they have not fixed that at this point. Other than that, all the STP details are here. The tax details here from the TFND, the different bank accounts are here. You can see them there. And we'll be adding more features like the payroll calendars, the employee groups, the holiday group, the pay template. We have plans to capture and send all of those details over to Xero. They will be out in the near future. So that's a demo of how to get set up, how to send an invite, what the employee experience is like, and how to invite the employer and other members of your team to manage that process by Xonboard. Thank you very much.